Sir, that disability pass looks homemade, and it doesn't specify amusement park access. I can't accept this for expedited entry or ride accommodations, the young park attendant said, his voice laced with suspicion as he handed back Sergeant John M. McMillan's official VA disability ID card. Mac, 70, leaning on his cane, pointed to the clearly printed VA logo. This is my official disability access, son. Recognized federally. The attendant just shrugged, gesturing to the long regular queue. Park policy is specific. You'll have to wait in line like everyone else. 8 minutes later, as Mac debated whether to even bother, the cheerful park music and ride announcements abruptly ceased. A new authoritative voice crackled over the park-wide PA system. Attention guests and park management, this is Governor Thorne. We have an urgent matter. If you believe service-earned accommodations are rights, not privileges, comment on or below. Sergeant John M. McMillan, U.S. Army retired, didn't ask for much. His days were a careful negotiation with the pain that was a constant companion, a legacy of shrapnel wounds from Vietnam and a later training accident that had left him with a permanent limp and difficulty standing for long periods. Today was supposed to be a rare treat. His granddaughter Lily was visiting, and her 7-year-old heart was set on Coaster Kingdom, the sprawling amusement park an hour from his small, quiet bungalow. Mac had called ahead, confirming their disability access program. He'd been assured that his official Veterans Affairs Disability Identification Card, which clearly stated his service-connected mobility impairment, would be sufficient for a pass, allowing him to use alternative entrances for rides, minimizing his time standing in the notoriously long queues. Lily was practically vibrating with excitement. Mac, despite his own aches, was looking forward to seeing the joy on her face. He wore his most comfortable walking shoes, sensible trousers, and a light windbreaker. His VA ID tucked securely in his wallet. He knew the park would be crowded, a chaotic symphony of laughter, screams, and collie music. But for Lily, he'd brave anything. They arrived just after opening, the sun already climbing, the lines at the entrance booths snaking back impressively. Mac guided Lily towards the guest services and disability access window, clearly marked near the main gate. The window was staffed by a young man named Chad, perhaps 19 or 20, wearing a brightly colored Coaster Kingdom polo shirt and a name tag. He had an air of bored authority, the kind often adopted by those in their first position of minor power. Yes, Chad asked, not looking up from a pamphlet he was reading. Good morning, Mac began politely. I called earlier about disability access. I'm a veteran with a service-connected mobility impairment. He presented his VA disability ID card, which featured his photo, name, VA file number, and a clear statement of his disability rating, which qualified him for such accommodations. Chad took the card, glanced at it briefly, then turned it over in his fingers with a skeptical frown. This doesn't look like our standard park-issued access pass application form. No, Mac explained patiently. This is my official Veterans Affairs documentation. I was told on the phone it would be sufficient to receive the park's accommodation pass. Chad peered at the card again, then held it up to the light as if expecting it to be counterfeit. It just looks like a laminated card, sir, and it doesn't specifically say Coaster Kingdom Disability Access Approved, or anything like that. Our policy is very specific. Guests requiring ride accommodations must have a doctor's note dated within the last 6 months or complete our park's own multi-page accessibility questionnaire, which then has to be approved by our on-site medical liaison. Lily, standing beside her grandfather, looked up with wide, anxious eyes, sensing a problem. But the man on the phone said Grandpa's card was good, she piped up. Chad ignored her, focusing on Mac. Look, sir, anyone can print out a card that says disabled veteran. We get people trying to scam the system all the time to skip lines. Unless you have the park-approved documentation or a very recent doctor's note detailing your specific limitations for amusement park rides, I can't issue an access pass. This is my documentation, Mac reiterated, his voice tightening slightly, pointing to the official VA seal and his photograph. It's a federal document verifying my disability status. It's recognized nationwide for these purposes. The law is quite clear on accommodating individuals with documented disabilities. Chad's expression hardened from skepticism to outright dismissal. Sir, with all due respect, federal law outside this park is one thing. Coaster Kingdom policy inside this park is another, and my manager is very strict. No exceptions to the approved documentation list. That card you have, He pushed it back across the counter towards Mac. Isn't on the list. It could be homemade for all I know. The accusation that his official VA ID, a testament to years of sacrifice and injury, was homemade or a scam hit Mac with a force that momentarily stole his breath. He saw Lily's face fall, her earlier excitement crumbling into confusion and disappointment. So, you're refusing to honor my legitimate disability status and a promise made by your own staff? Mac asked, his voice now dangerously quiet. Chad shrugged, already turning to the next person in line, a family with a stroller. I'm just following the rules, sir. You're welcome to purchase regular admission tickets and wait in the standard queues like everyone else. Next, the casual public invalidation, the bureaucratic stonewalling in the face of clear need, and Lily's crestfallen expression was a bitter pill. Mac knew arguing further with Chad would be pointless. He also knew that subjecting his already aching leg to hours of standing in line was simply not an option. It would ruin the day for both him and Lily, and likely leave him in severe pain for days. He took back his VA card, his hand trembling slightly with suppressed anger. He put a reassuring arm around Lily's shoulder. It's okay, sweetheart, he murmured, though it was far from okay. Let's just step over here for a minute and think. He led her away from the window, finding a bench near the park entrance. The sounds of manufactured joy from within the park feeling like a cruel mockery. Sitting on the bench, Lily trying to bravely hide her tears, Mac felt a surge of frustration, so intense it almost choked him. This wasn't just about a missed amusement park ride. It was about dignity, about respect, about the promises made to those who served and sacrificed. He looked at his VA card, then at the park entrance. He wasn't one to make waves, but this felt like a line had been crossed. He pulled out his worn cell phone. He had a few numbers stored from his time leading a local chapter of a national veterans advocacy group. Contacts within state government, people who actually cared about veterans' rights and access. One number was for the personal aide to Governor Marcus Thorne, a governor known for his strong pro-veteran stance and his intolerance for bureaucratic nonsense, especially when it impacted those who had served. Mac had met the governor briefly at a veterans event last year. It was a very long shot, calling the governor's office on a busy Saturday over an amusement park issue, but the principal felt important. He dialed. The aide, a surprisingly young but efficient woman named Sarah, answered. Mac quickly, calmly explained the situation. Coaster Kingdom, the Veterans Free Promise, which the park also had signs for, today being the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, though Chad hadn't even gotten to that part. His VA disability ID, Chad's refusal, the homemade card accusation, and the park's insistence on their own specific forms over federally recognized documentation for ADA accommodations. Sarah listened intently, asking a few clarifying questions. Sergeant McMillan, please stay where you are, near the guest services window if possible. The governor is actually scheduled for a press event in this county later this morning, and he's en route. I will relay this to him immediately. This is precisely the kind of disregard for veteran access he finds unacceptable. The call ended. Mac felt a sliver of hope, but also a sense of unreality. The governor, here, over this. He tried to manage Lily's expectations, suggesting they might just get an ice cream and head home. 7 minutes passed. Then 8. Lily was starting to get restless. Mac was about to suggest they leave when it happened. The cheerful looping Coaster Kingdom theme music and the booming announcements for the Goliath Gauntlet roller coaster suddenly cut off mid-sentence. A brief burst of static, then a new voice filled the park-wide PA system. A voice that was calm, clear, and resonated with an unmistakable tone of authority and barely concealed anger. Attention Coaster Kingdom guests and park management. Your immediate attention, please. The voice was instantly recognizable to many in the state. Shoppers in the gift shops paused. Families in line for rides looked up, confused. Park employees stopped their tasks, exchanging bewildered glances. Chad at the guest services window, who had been smirking to a coworker about the old guy with the fake ID, froze, his face draining of color. This is Governor Thorne, the voice continued, echoing from every corner of the sprawling park. I am currently en route to your facility, but I have just been made aware of a deeply disturbing incident at your guest services window. It has been reported to me by a decorated combat veteran, Sergeant John McMillan, that he was denied appropriate disability accommodation as guaranteed under the Americans with Disabilities Act and further supported by this state's own Veterans Bill of Rights, despite presenting a valid Veterans Affairs disability identification card. A murmur went through the crowd of guests nearest the entrance, many of whom had witnessed the earlier exchange or seen Mac and Lily sitting dejectedly. Furthermore, the governor's voice sharpened. It is alleged that your park employee not only refused to recognize this official documentation, but also questioned its authenticity, implying it was homemade, and insisted on park-specific paperwork that places an undue burden on disabled individuals, particularly our honored veterans, seeking to enjoy a day with their families. Chad at the guest services window looked like he was about to be physically ill. His manager, who had been in a back office, came rushing out, his face a mask of panic as he recognized the governor's voice booming through his park. This failure to comply with federal and state law, this blatant disrespect shown to a man who has sacrificed for our freedoms, is not just an administrative error. It is an outrage. It is an embarrassment to this state and to any organization that claims to welcome all patrons. The governor paused for effect, the silence amplifying the tension. Therefore, effective immediately, by the authority vested in me as governor, and in consultation with the State Department of Consumer Affairs and the Office of Disability Rights, I am ordering Coaster Kingdom to cease all ride operations and ticket sales. This park is to be temporarily shut down pending an immediate on-site review of your disability access policies, staff training, and ADA compliance. Gasps and shouts of disbelief erupted throughout the park. Rides slowly began to power down. The cheerful facade of Coaster Kingdom had just been brought to a screeching, authoritative halt. The park manager, a Mr. Henderson, no relation to any other Henderson in these stories, it's a common name for hapless managers, it seems, was already on his emergency line to corporate headquarters, even before Governor Thorne's motorcade, complete with a state trooper escort, swept through the now open emergency access gates and pulled up directly in front of guest services. Governor Thorne, a tall, imposing figure even in his weekend casual attire, stepped out, his expression like thunder. He spotted Mac and Lily immediately, his face softening as he approached them, bypassing the frantic park manager. "Sergeant McMillan," the governor said, extending his hand warmly. "Governor Thorne, it's an honor to meet you, sir. And Lily, I presume. I apologize that your day here started so poorly. We're going to fix that." He then turned to the aghast Mr. Henderson and the terrified-looking Chad. "Mr. Henderson, I want to see your complete ADA compliance manual, your staff training records for disability accommodation, and the specific policy that led Mr. Chad here." He gestured dismissively. To deny Sergeant McMillan and his granddaughter the access they are legally and morally entitled to. And I want to see them now. What followed was less a review and more a systematic dismantling of Coaster Kingdom's flawed and discriminatory access policies. State officials summoned by the governor arrived within the hour. Chad was immediately suspended. Mr. Henderson spent several hours in intense discussions with the governor and his team. By mid-afternoon, Coaster Kingdom had issued a formal public apology to Sergeant McMillan and all veterans. They pledged to completely overhaul their disability access program, accept all valid federal and state disability IDs without question, and implement comprehensive retraining for all staff overseen by the Governor's Office of Disability Rights. The park remained closed for the rest of the day, a significant financial hit and a public relations disaster. As for Mac and Lily, Governor Thorne personally escorted them into the empty park. Once the initial review was underway, he arranged for a private tour, had several rides powered up just for Lily, and ensured they were treated like absolute royalty. Lily got her day of coaster joy, and Mac got something far more valuable: the restoration of his dignity and a powerful demonstration that sometimes, even in the face of entrenched bureaucracy, one quiet call to the right person could make an entire kingdom listen. The governor later used the incident to push for stronger statewide enforcement of ADA compliance and veteran access rights. Coaster Kingdom did reopen, humbled with genuinely improved accessibility. Mac and Lily were offered lifetime passes, which Mac politely accepted, knowing Lily would be thrilled. He knew, however, that the real victory wasn't the free rides, but the renewed understanding that service, sacrifice, and the rights they ensured were not to be trifled with. Because when a system fails a veteran, it fails the very principles it's supposed to uphold. And sometimes it takes a governor to remind them of that, one shutdown park at a time. To subscribe, show Abe Buzzder Stories channel if you believe our heroes deserve open gates and open hearts.